She was just a child in seat 17AA, 16-year-old with alert eyes, fidgeting fingers and a heart that had been pounding ever since the aircraft lifted off the runway. The bowing 777 droned smoothly as it sliced through the sky at 37,000 feet. An endless ocean spread far below. For most of the 200 passengers aboard, it was an ordinary flight. For her, it felt like standing at the edge of something vast and unseen. Her name was R, at barely 16. Her narrow shoulders seemed far too small for the legacy the world had once murmured about. Her hair was loosely tied back, and to anyone watching, she looked like any nervous teenager flipping through an in-flight magazine. But inside her chest echoed the memory of her father. His name wasn't printed on her boarding pass, yet it lived deep within her bones. Falcon, her father, had been a legend, not the kind found on stages or in tailored suits, but the kind that ruled the skies. Colonel Isaac Falcon Hale. Among U.S. Air Force pilots, that call sign carried weight. He was known for flying into storms others avoided, for pulling off maneuvers no one else dared attempt, for landing a damaged jet with nothing but instinct and nerve. He was also the man who never returned from his final mission. Ara had been 11 when he was lost. The world called him a hero. To her, he was simply Dad. Now she sat in seat 17A, fingers wrapped tightly around the dog tags hidden beneath her hoodie, feeling their sharp edges bite into her palm each time turbulence nudged the aircraft. She hated flying. It felt cruel, almost ironic, that the daughter of a legendary pilot feared the very skies that had defined him. But today, she had no choice. Life had carried her to this moment high above the ground, where fate seemed to be waiting just beyond the window. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom, warning of incoming turbulence and reminding everyone to remain seated. The seatbelt sign chimed. Passengers groaned and shifted, stowing trays and tightening straps. Ara leaned her forehead against the cold glass, watching the clouds thicken and darken. Something felt wrong. Maybe it was just fear, or maybe it was that instinct her father had always talked about. "You'll know," he used to say, tapping gently over her heart. "When something's wrong, you'll feel it. Trust that." Then it happened. The plane jolted violently. Gasps rippled through the cabin. Drinks splashed. A child cried. The aircraft dipped before stabilizing, but Ara's chest tightened painfully. She gripped the armrests, her pulse racing. This wasn't just weather. She glanced back out the window and caught sight of something moving through the clouds of shadow, sharp and impossibly fast. Then another. Her breath caught. Fighter jets. 2 F-22 Raptors burst through the mist, their gray frames gleaming faintly in the muted light as they flanked the commercial plane. They flew close enough that even passengers on the opposite side noticed. Murmurs spread quickly, fear rising with every second. "Why are they here?" Someone whispered. Ara already knew. Fighter escorts didn't appear without reason. Something was wrong, maybe a failed transponder, a deviation in course, or a perceived threat. Whatever it was, the plane wasn't just shaking through turbulence. It was in danger. The pilot's voice returned, calm but strained, assuring everyone that the situation was under control and asking them to remain seated. But Ara could read the truth in the fighters' tight formation. They weren't there to accompany. They were there to judge. The dog tags against her chest felt heavier than ever. "What would you do, Dad?" she murmured. The F-22 to the left tilted its wings slightly, a subtle motion, deliberate and precise. A signal. Test. Her father had taught her those signs, teaching her the silent language of the skies. It meant, "Do you hear us? Do you understand?" No response came from the airliner. Seconds stretched unbearably long. Ara felt electricity surge through her veins. She didn't pause to think. She unbuckled her seatbelt, ignoring the glowing warning above. A flight attendant gasped and rushed toward her. "Miss, you need to sit down." "I need to talk to the cockpit," Ara said, her voice shaking but firm. "Please, you have to trust me." There was something in her eyes, something far older than 16, that made the attendant hesitate. Then, quickly, she led Ara to the cockpit door. When the captain cracked it open, confusion crossed his face. "They're signaling you," Ara said urgently. "The F-22s, if you don't respond correctly, they'll assume this plane is hostile." The first officer stared at her. How would you know that? Because I'm Falcon's daughter, she blurted, pulling out the dog tags. Colonel Isaac Hale. They'll recognize the name. Please, trust me. Silence filled the cockpit. The captain studied her, jaw tight, hands poised over the controls. There was no time to debate. What's the signal? He asked. Her mouth was dry, but she forced the words out. Tilt back. Just slightly. It's acknowledgement. Did it. The massive aircraft shifted almost imperceptibly. Outside, the left fighter responded, dipping its wing again before pulling forward. A radio transmission crackled through the cockpit. Flight 208, this is Raptor lead. Identify yourself immediately. The captain moved to answer, but Ara touched his arm. Let me. After a brief pause, he handed her the microphone. Her hand trembled. Her voice didn't. This is Ara Hale, she said clearly. Daughter of Colonel Isaac Falcon Hale, requesting identification clearance. The silence that followed felt endless. Then, through the static, a voice softer now. Say again? Did you say Falcon? Tears blurred her vision, but she held steady. Yes, he was my father. And he'd tell you this plane is no threat. Please, trust me. Another long pause. Then the fighter dipped low, flashing its underbelly in acknowledgement. The radio crackled again, the voice reverent, almost unsteady. Copy that, Ara Hale, Falcon's daughter. You are clear. We will escort you safely. The cockpit seemed to breathe again. The captain leaned back, staring at her as if she were no longer just a frightened teenager, but something far greater. When she returned to seat 17A, passengers watched her with stunned expressions. They didn't fully understand what she had done, but they knew it mattered. Outside, the F-22s remained at either wing, no longer threatening, but protective, guiding the plane through the storm. Ara pressed her forehead to the window, tears finally falling. The jets glinted like guardians in the sky. She thought of her father, of all the times he had told her that one day she would have to find her courage. She whispered, I hope I made you proud, Dad. And in her heart, she felt the answer, carried softly like a voice on the wind. Hours later, when the plane landed safely, applause filled the cabin. Some passengers cheered. Others cried. Ara stayed seated in 17A, fingers wrapped around the dog tags. Knowing she hadn't just helped save the flight, she had carried her father's name into the sky one last time. Sometimes heroes don't wear uniforms. Sometimes they're just kids with shaking hands who refuse to stay silent when it matters most. Courage doesn't come with age. It comes from the heart.